Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to my channel. I am Vivian, and in today's tutorial I want to show you how to cut your princess dart bustier and also pad it perfectly well. Okay, so I say very big welcome to you all my subscribers, and if you're new to this channel, you are very much welcome. God bless you for stopping by and for clicking on my video. So I will show you how to draft and cut the princess dart bustier and also how to pad it. Okay, so you can see the inside and also how to line it up. So this is actually a tutorial from my online training, but I decided to bring it to you, okay, my subscribers, my lovely subscribers who couldn't make it or who did not participate in that online training, so that you can also benefit from this. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to draft a princess dart bustier, be able to pad it to achieve that nice finishing and that bust cup that would accommodate the bust of your client or yourself, okay, without it being too big or too small or having any flaws. So we'll get into the lesson, but before then, if you're new to this channel, it would be nice you subscribe, okay, to join the family. So you just hit on that subscribe button below and also turn on the notification bell beside it, so that you will be among those that will be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload videos on this channel every week, okay, on sewing tutorials, fashion tips, fashion business tips, and a lot, even DIYs. So I believe you will not want to miss out on any of those videos. So it will be very nice you hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell beside it, so that you will not miss out. Okay, so now we'll get straight into the lesson of the day. Hello all, welcome back. So today we'll be making a princess dart bustier, okay, and it will be with peplum. So I'm stopping my measurements at the waist area. So by now you should be familiar with this. This is just a basic bodice, okay. So I've drafted the basic bodice. So what is left now is to place the princess dart, okay. So for those that don't know how to do this, visit our previous video so you know how to draft our basic bodice. It's very simple. This is the neckline, the armhole, the chest line, also known as the upper bust, the bust, the under bust, and the waist. Okay, so now we'll place our princess dart, and to do that you need to first of all mark out your bust span. So the bust span is from one nipple to the other, that is nipple to nipple, and the bust span here is 8 inches. So 8 divided by 2, that is 4 inches. Okay, then at that 4 inches I'll add half inch to it, because you'll be joining, by the time you have cut out the dart, you'll be joining it. So you need that half inch to join, so that by the time you have finished joining, your bust span will return back to 4, as it should be on one side. So what I mark here is 4.5 inches from the bust point. Okay, so I'll mark 4.5 at the bust point. At the under bust, I will still mark 4.5. Then at the waist, okay. So this is it. Now notice that at this waist I've also added my seam allowance for joining it to the peplum. So I added 1 inch. Okay, so the length, the half length is 17 inches. So I added 1 inch. So by the time we finish joining the princess dart, we would now trim and join the top to the peplum. So that is it. Now I have marked out my bust span. I'll just connect. So just connect like so, and that is it. So we have connected this side. Now we'll come to this side, the armhole side. So what you will do, measure your armhole from this point. Don't include, this is the shoulder seam allowance, so we'll be joining the shoulder to the back. So it's from here you measure your armhole to this point. So whatever you get, you find the midpoint. So just carefully measure your armhole like so. Okay, so this is what I have here, 9 and 7.5. Okay, see it here. So this is it. So I'll find the midpoint by folding my tape at it, and this is the midpoint, so I'll place it back. So it's just close to 10. So the midpoint too is also close to 5, and this is it. So just mark your midpoint. So by the time you have marked your midpoint, also connect it to the bust. So just have it this way. Also connect it to the bust. Okay, so have it. Now we have gotten our mark for our darts. So what we'll do now, at the bust point, at this bust point, just mark, come down by 1 inch, and also come up by 1 inch on this line. So you just trace wherever you have 1 inch, you mark it. Okay, so you're coming down by 1 inch here, and you're coming up by 1 inch. So the essence of doing this is to eliminate sharpness at the bust. Okay, so by the time we create the cup, you will see that. So we don't want to have it pointy at the bust there. So now, having done this, you come to the under bust. At the under bust, you place your bust cup measurement like I have taught you. So how to get that? Your bust circumference minus your under bust circumference, whatever you have, divided by 2. So here the bust point, the bust circumference is 36 inches. The under bust is 32 inches. So 36 minus 32, that is 4. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? So that 2, you place 2 here. Then half of 2, you place on this side. So I've taught you that. I hope you remember. The 2 will come this way, because this is where you have the cup. Then whatever you have here, half of it should come this side. So since I'm marking 2 on this side, I'll mark 1 on this side. So that is it. So at the under bust, I'll mark 2 on this side. So this is to get my cup size. Then I'll mark 2 here. Okay, then on this side I'll mark 1, and on this side I'll mark 1. So that is it. So if what you have after dividing by 2, for example, your bust minus under bust, if you get 6, divide by 2, that is 3, right? So you place 3 here, and you place half of 3 here, which is what? 1.5. So that is just how it goes to get a nice cup for your bustier. Okay, so that is it. Now we would connect. So we'll just go ahead and finish up this side, then we'll move to the up side. So all you do, just connect this point straight. So by the time you have connected like this, now you make a curve connecting this point to this point. Okay, so you can use your French curve or your free hand to do that. So you just have to position your curve very well. Position it well so that this point and this point would meet. So now you make your curve. Okay, so by the time you have made your curve, on this side you can just go straight. So you just go, you connect it. Okay, so have it there. Now we are done with this side. Now we move to this other side. At this side, just like what we did here, bust minus under bust. Here what you will do is bust minus upper bust. Is this clear? So you know that this is bust, upper bust. This chest line is the same thing as your upper bust line, where your armpit, your armpit crosses through to your chest, is your chest or your upper bust. So now to get what you cut out here is the bust minus the upper bust. So here the bust is 36 and the upper bust is 34. So 36 minus 34, that is 2. So whatever you get, divided by 2. Okay, if it's 4 you got here, divide it by 2. So when you have divided by 2, you place it here. For example, since I've done this one, what I have is 2. 2 divided by 2 is what? 1. I'll mark 1 on this side and I'll mark 1 on this side. And sometimes it usually corresponds with what you have on this side. That is, whatever you mark here usually corresponds. But in a situation where it doesn't correspond, what you will do is bust minus upper bust divide by 2. Your answer, you place 1 on this side, you place on this side. Okay, so that is it. So my answer is 2. 2 divided by 2, that is 1. So I'll place 1 on this side and place 1 on the other side. So this is it. Okay, so by the time you have placed it like so, you connect it to this 1-inch staple. Remember, we came up by 1 inch, and this is it. So you just connect it to it like so. You connect this one, and you also connect this one. Okay, so you can see our cup is almost formed. You see, it has formed, but it is sharp at the nipple. Okay, you know that this bust point is the nipple. It is sharp there, and we don't want it sharp. So we are going to eliminate the sharpness by doing what? Connecting this side to this side. That is, connecting this point to this point like so. Just place your French cuff like so, and you connect. Okay, so you have to be careful while doing this, and you connect. So by the time you connect it, you can see the new line now. This pointing has been eliminated. This sharp pointing, that is, this point here, has been eliminated, and we have our cup well drawn. So you can see this. Okay, so now, having done this, we'll replace our dart, starting with this side. This dart here, you replace it here, because if you watch, by the time you have cut out this, you see that this side now is longer, here is short. So if you join it, by the time you join it, this is where it will reach. Are you seeing it? By the time you join it, this is where it will reach. So what happens to this other one is it will not be okay. So all you do, you extend this. Okay, you extend this line by what? By these 2 inches. You know, we took 1 inch here, 1 inch here, that is 2 inches. So extend this line by 2 inches. So whatever that you placed here, whatever you placed here and here, add it here. So you extend this by 2 inches. So this is it. So you just connect it. You can just use a ruler and connect it up there. Okay, so just make sure it's connecting. So it is connected there now. So now you form a new armhole, also replacing this dart here. These 2 inches, you have extended it here. You also replace it at this point, because by the time you cut and you join, it will also shorten here. So you also replace it. So by the time you replace the 2 inches, you connect it to this place, and we'll have a new armhole. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This is a new armhole. This is where you'll be cutting out from, no longer this one. So that is it. So now, having done this, we would insert our horizontal measurement. We'll insert our horizontal measurement, and by the time you insert your horizontal measurement, also replace these darts. So you have 2 inches here and 1 inch here, that is 3 inches. So you have to also add it up to your horizontal measurement. So let's go. So here I place my bust measurement initially. Okay, remember to get your armhole, this bust circumference you place here. So this side now is settled. What we'll do is to go to the under bust. You place your under bust circumference. So my under bust circumference is 32 divided by 4, that is 8. Okay, so what I'll do is first of all mark the 8. I'll first of all mark my 8. This is my 8. Okay, then I would, let me mark it very well because I have another point there. So this is my 8. Now I will replace this, that is 3 inches. So from that 8 mark, I'll add my 3 inches, and this is it. Okay, I've not added the seam allowance. I'll add that separately. Now to the waist. And my waist is 33 divided by 4, 8.25, and this is it, 8.25. That is 8.25. I will place it. Okay, now add my 3 inches. That is it there. Now I would connect. Okay, so after connecting, I'll then add my seam allowance. So just connect. Then connect here. So you can see all the drafting. So that's why I'm doing this on paper, to show you. Let it be clear to you. So you can do this even directly on your fabric. All you need to do is just take everything step by step. So now we have gotten our actual measurements. The next thing is to place our seam allowance. So I usually go by 2 inches or 1.5. Okay, so I'll be using 2 inches. Why I like having it excess like this is, by the time you have finished joining and doing everything, whatever you have there should be enough for you, because sometimes it is just natural. After joining, you might be seeing shortages and be wondering how. Okay, for example, now here we have taken our dart, 2 inches on this side, 1 inch on this side. Remember, we will join it. You will join it again after cutting out this. You will still join it again by half inch. Are you seeing that? You still join it again by what? Half inch. So that will also reduce whatever you have here. So always add enough allowance. For example, 1.5 or 2 inches. Then after sewing, you still have to measure. Don't just say, I added 2 inches allowance, so you just mark 2 inches and you sew. No, by the time you are finished joining, you still have to mark your measurements on your garments, on your fabric, okay, before you start stitching. That is just it. So I'll take 2 inches. So by the time you are done stitching and you have so much excess there, you can always trim it. Even if you're doing the hidden seam method, that is the one that by the time you're finished sewing, the seam will be tucked in. Yes, you can do this. By the time you are done setting everything, you then trim and tuck in your seam. Okay, so that is it. Now I'll just connect the seam allowance. So this is it. Okay, so now I can cut out. So everything is just okay now. I'll go ahead and cut it out. So having removed the other sides, I'll go ahead now and cut this one, this side like this. Okay, then cut this one like so. When you get to this point, you also have to cut it away, this sharp edge. Just follow in between it. Then you come like this. So first of all, let me remove this one. So I have it there. So this is my princess dart bustier. Now you can see on paper the marks are showing. By the time you have transferred this on your fabric, always notch the bust point. Notch it on your fabric so that when you're joining, you know where the bust is. Because on the fabric, you might not have this line showing again. You will not have the lines showing if you have cut on paper. Then even if you have cut on your fabric, still notch the bust point. Because on fabric, you will fold. By the time you have folded and you cut, one side will not have the chalk markings. So by the time you have finished cutting like this, what you do, you pick up this side of the fabric, you notch the bust point, you pick up the other side of the fabric, you notch the bust point before you open it up. Okay, so I'll go ahead and transfer this on my fabric, but before that we would cut the back part. All right, so now we'll be cutting the back. So I have marked out my zipper allowance. So what I do, the easiest way, there are ways, or let me say more than one way, to achieve the back of a princess dart bustier. You can go ahead and draft the basic bodice all over again. Then you now place your dart. But the easiest way to do it is to use your front panel. And this is what you will do. Because the back does not have bust, we would eliminate this bust curve by hiding it in like so. Okay, so you just position your front panel from the zipper allowance, okay, where you have marked your zipper allowance. That is where you place the front panel like so. Okay, so you just place it. Then this other panel should go under this one to eliminate this bust curve. And this is your guide, this point. Once this side, the under bust, has met together like this, from here it has closed up together, there you know you should stop. Okay, so this is your guide. You keep pushing this one in until this part has come together like so. Okay, and make sure it is aligning. These lines are matching up like so. Then you have it. By the time you have done it like this, you can now go ahead and trace. Okay, so that is it. So I usually like holding this down with my paper tape just to avoid it moving from where it should be. So I just hold it down with my paper tape. So this is just to avoid it moving. So I work with my paper tape a lot, and my office pin, that is my pin also. So just pin this down, just place it down there. Then you position this one very well. You can still hold it down at that point, making sure that it is aligning. Okay, so we want to trace out the back. So I have it here now. Now I'll go ahead and trace at the back. Then even the back neckline, you determine how deep you want it. So for my back neckline, let me just mark this point, this line here, so that will be a guide from where I'll mark my back neckline. Okay, so that will be a guide for where I'll mark my back neckline. And remember the seam allowance for joining the back is also here. It's also here, so don't forget that. So it's from here now I would mark my back neckline. Okay, so I want the depth. Remember, the width has to be the same. The width has to be the same. Then the depth is what you determine. So the width has to be the same, which is 4.5. You can see. Then the depth is whatever you want. So let me go with depth of 3 inches. Okay, so I'll go with depth of 3 inches, and that is okay for me. So what I'll do now is to connect it to this point. So let me use my chalk first of all. Okay, so it's okay like this, and I can use my marker now so that I can see it. So this is how deep I want my back neckline to be. Then the front will be deeper than the back. So the next thing now, I would mark all these other points and just cut it out. So you can use your ruler to make this straight. So you connect. Now for this armhole, remember that the back armhole is not as deep as the front armhole. So that 1 inch, you come out by that 1 inch. Okay, from here, just come out by that 1 inch. Then you connect your back armhole. So just connect it to this point here to this side. Remember, it should match. Remember, it should match. Okay, then the other parts also. Just trace. So I'm just tracing it out, which you can just cut it out at once, but for the purpose of this stitching, so I'm doing all this so that it will be clear to you. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and just cut, but I'm doing this so that everything will be clear to you. So you can see the armhole came out by that 1 inch because the front should be deeper. Then I've marked out everything. Now I would remove the front. Okay, before removing the front, also mark your bust on the upper bust, your bust, your under bust, and the waist. Then you can remove the front. Now you can draw this line so that it will help you to create your dart. So the upper bust is this one here. Must match with this armhole. Then this is the bust. This is the under bust here. Then the waist. So let me just label it back. Then this is the under bust, then the waist. Okay, so you can see the back now. So this will extend to this side too. So this one, remember I just made this mark. This is where it should come. This 1/2 inch for shoulder seam. Remember. So this is it. So let me mark it back. Okay, so this part, this one is no, I just drew the line as a guide. This is not part of it, so I'll just cut out like this, and that is just it. I hope this is clear to you. So don't just look at this and say, what is this? It's just a guide when I was making my neckline for the back. Now we have this. What we want to do now is to create our back dart. Okay, to create our back dart, and there are ways to also do this. To make things very easy for yourself, what you do, find the midpoint of this armhole, connect it to the bust, mark your bust point, your bust span here, then you just cut, and that is it. That is what I usually do, and it comes out very well. Then another one is, if you actually want to make a dart, as in you want to cut out the dart, you can go ahead and mark your dart 1/2 inch. So just follow what I'm doing. So my bust span, remember I used 4.5. So I'll mark it at the bust point. Okay, this is actually back dart. So the back dart usually starts from the chest, okay, not the bust. So it's at the chest point. Now you start marking your bust span. So at the chest line, it also extends to the bust, the under bust, and all the way down. Okay, so marking my, and now I'll connect it to this bust span. So make sure that it is correct. 4.5. Yes, it's there. So just connect. So you connect, okay? Then you also measure the armhole. So just measure your armhole. Remember, it's from here you're measuring. So just measure your armhole like so. Measure. So I also have 9 1/4. So 9 1/4 there. Find the midpoint and you mark the midpoint. Mark the midpoint carefully. So this is it, close to 5. So this is the midpoint. I would also connect it to this chest line. Okay, so what you do, just blend this side. You don't want it sharp here, so you just blend it, okay, like so. Then you cut out So this is just how I cut my back that, because by the time you have cut it out, you will be joining it back with half inch, that is by half inch, and that half inch you're joining it to make it relax. So that half inch now, half on this side, half on this side, you replace it here. Okay, so you place it here, so meaning that you have to add 1 inch on these sides. So you add 1 inch here, just extend the back by 1 inch. Okay, because you'll be joining this by half inch here, half inch here. By the time you join it, it will shorten your dress. So you have to replace that 1 inch there, and that is it. So just extend it and you connect. Okay, so this is just the idea. So this is it. Now I'll go ahead and just cut it out. So you just cut out this one the way it is. Okay, then you join, then you cut out all this side. That is just the back dart, as simple as that. Okay, so you can see I've cut it out. Now is to now cut out the darts. Okay, so for the back dart, you don't need to give yourself headache. Just follow this method and you'll be good to go. So remember, I blended it here so that we won't have sharp edge there. And this is it, as simple as this. So by the time you sew, you just join it back. Just join it back, and that is it. Okay, so right now we are done with our princess dart. So whatever we have done here, you can do directly on your fabric. Okay, so you can do it directly on your fabric. So right now I'll go ahead and transfer this to my fabric, and don't forget, like I said, always notch your bust points. Notch the bust point on your fabric. So I'll do this on the fabric now. So I have it here. Now the next thing is to do what? Notch the bust point. Okay, so you know that this one is the bust point. This is the bust. So what I'll do is just to notch it on my fabric. So just raise it at that point. You can mark it in order not to get confused. Then you raise it and you notch. Very importantly, so when you are sewing it, it will align. Okay, you can see now I have my fabric without marks on it. So what will guide me is the notch. I'll know that these points are the bust points. So I'll place it this way and sew. Okay, so that is it. So the next thing now is to cut out the back. After cutting out the back, we'll cut the part, the wording for padding it. So I'll show you all that. So I have cut out the lining for it. So I'll go ahead now and cut the wording to pad it. Okay, so there are different ways to pad your blouse. You can use the hard wording, the medium weight wording, or the soft one. So if you're using the soft one, you can double it. Okay, then you can also use hemstay too. I'll show you a video on that, how to use hemstay to pad your blouse. So for now I'm using the thick wording. So whatever you have handy, you can use it to pad your blouse. Like I said, I'll be showing you the video on how to use hemstay to do that, and you achieve excellent results. Okay, so now I would arrange my wording on my fabric, the wrong side facing the wording. And your wording, okay, sometimes have visible side. That is the side that can gum to your fabric. So you place that side facing up and the wrong side of your fabric facing down on the visible side. But sometimes they don't stick. Some stick, some don't. So you just, whichever one, okay? So you just place your fabric like so. And you place these ones too. The wrong side facing down. You place it. And it should get to the under bust. It should get to the under bust. You see the reason why I say always notch the bust, that by the time you're arranging it, you can arrange it this way. The bust matching. You can see. So you arrange it, the bust matching or aligning like so. Okay, so with this you can get your under bust. So for the under bust, if you don't know it, you can measure it, the distance from your bust to your under bust. So mine is 4 inches. So what do? You just place and see if your tape, if your wording is there. So it's already above 4 inches, which is still okay, because the wording should get to either your under bust or like ½ inch after the under bust. So this is okay. So I'll just lift it up a little bit. So let's see. So it's just okay for me like this. So what I'll do now is to go ahead and cut. And when you are cutting, the wording shouldn't get to the neckline. It shouldn't get to the neckline. It should get to like 1 inch before the neckline. 1 inch. So you just point where it is. You raise your fabric and you mark it. So that is where you will cut when you're cutting for this one. Then these other ones, you just cut. Then when you get to this point, you know what length of allowance you took for your seam. Like I said, 2 inches, right? So I'll just come here and mark like 2.5 inches. Then that is, I'll just note it, not really marking it, just note where it is. You raise it up, then you mark. That is where you cut the wording. The same with this side. You do the same thing on this side. So when I cut it, you will see it. You just raise and you mark. So that is how it will go. Then like so. Then like so. You cut it out up to this point like so. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. Then when you get to this one, you also raise it and you cut. Okay. So let me just go ahead and cut it starting from this one. Okay, so I've cut out the wording. Okay, so just then after cutting your wording, make sure you also notch it at that bust point so that it will align. So you make sure you notch it. Okay, then I have this one too, so let me just turn it this way and you see it. So it is actually like this. So you notch the bust point. Okay, so this is it. So this is what your wording should look like. Then you can also trim out this side so that when you're joining your sleeve, you won't have a problem there, because this thing have a way of affecting, your seam. When you sew, it will be hard at that side. So you need to trim it out so it won't get to the seam where you sew. Even this one, I think I should reduce it a little bit. Okay, I'll reduce this a little bit so that when you sew your neckline, it won't affect it. So the most important thing is having it at the bust. Okay, the most important thing is this bust area. Then I'll also trim out this side too, so it won't affect my seam when I'm joining the sleeve. So you can just trim it by the ½ inch you'll be using to join your sleeve. Okay, so that is it. So this is it. Okay, so now is to join it. We're going to stitch. So I always advise you make use of your pin. Pins, making use of pin is not just for learners or beginners. Experts too use pin. Okay, to make your work neat, to make it easy for you. Now there are times when you're sewing this, it will look as if it's not going to align. For example, if you start sewing from the top, by the time you're going down, you will see one side being longer than the other, and that is because you didn't arrange it well. It should align when you're sewing it. If you had done it well, cut it well, like the way I told you, increasing this side, okay, that is increasing this side at the armhole. If you had done it properly well, Then when you join, everything should align. This side will align, this side will align. But even after cutting it well, measuring well and cutting well, if you don't arrange it well, when you sew, it would, one side might be longer than the other. Okay, one side might be longer than the other. If you're starting from up, maybe where you get to this down part, you see that one side is longer. That's because you didn't arrange it well. So after your proper cutting, also arrange well. And that's why I keep saying this bust notching is very important. So you pick it from bust to bust, like so. That's the first thing you will do. You pin it down at the bust. Once you have gotten this side right, then you start arranging it. So as you arrange, you pin it down. So you pin it down, and after pinning, you can start sewing from any side. You can start sewing from up or from down. It will all be okay. So now the essence of pinning is this. By the time you pin and you see that it doesn't align, you loosen up your pin again and you arrange it well. So you see that it would align later. It will align when you arrange it well. Okay, it will match up. And one side will not be longer than the other. So that is why you should do this first of all. And after arranging like this, you mark ½ inch. And you sew by ½ inch from wherever you're starting to, from wherever you're starting, you sew by ½ inch to the other side. So that is it, okay? So you arrange. Now, having gotten this side, you also come down here. You start arranging this side too. So that is where some people miss it. They just start sewing like that, and at the end, you have one side being longer than the other, like that, and you have to start cutting or start trimming. So to avoid that, just arrange it. So I'm showing you all this because I am teaching you. These are the tricks in this, okay? I'm teaching you the tricks of getting it right. So it is better you take your time and get it right than having to lose and adjust later on. Okay? So this is just it. So you can see, as you arrange it, you see that it will all match up, it will align, and everything is there. Then you can go ahead and you stitch. Because I've heard that complaint several times that it doesn't match up. If I start from down, when I get to the top, one side will be longer. If I start from the top, when I get to down, one side will be longer. You can see that no side is longer. Everything aligns from the beginning to the end, because I have taken my time to arrange it with my pin and hold it down. You can see all the sides. So I'll just go ahead now, use my machine, and I'll go ahead now and stitch by ½ inch. Okay, even the pin, I've fixed it, okay, in ½ inch allowance. You can see that. Okay, so let me also add pin here so everything will just follow up. You can see it well. So you can see this. Okay, so everything has gone like so. So I'll just stitch. So by the time you have arranged it this way, you can sew from any side. You can sew from the top, or you can sew from the downside, and it will all align. And by the time you finish sewing, you have a nice princess dart. Okay, so you know I'm holding this with pin. So by the time I sew it, it will be all nice, to be very beautiful. So I'll do same thing to this other side. Then I'll go ahead and stitch. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and sew. Like I said, by the time you have held it down with your pin, you can start sewing from anywhere, either from the top or from the downside. So since my pin is facing this side, I'll start sewing from this side so that I can easily remove my pin while I'm sewing. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and just sew by ½ inch all the way down. So as I sew, I remove my pin. So you just keep arranging it. So you can see how careful I'm doing it. If you want to really get it right, you don't need to rush, okay? Just take it gradually until you finish stitching. So make sure it's well arranged. You can see what I have here. So you can see this, okay? You can see it. So just cut out the thread. I have it here. So I would notch it, okay? So just want to turn it for you to see the other side. You can see what I have, okay? So I'll give it a notch. I would notch it. So by the time I notch it, I would give it a good press from inside. So I'll go ahead and sew this other side too. Then I would notch it inside, and this is how you just simply notch it. Just notch it, but be careful, don't cut on your seam. Be careful not to cut on your seam, okay? Just carefully notch. And most importantly too, you notch this very part so that it can relax. You can see it. You can see it just standing. So one can even put on this without bra. You can see the cup. Okay, you can see how beautiful it is. This is it. So now we'll move to ironing it and also making the lining for it. So after you have finished stitching, the next thing is to iron it. So you first of all start from this side, okay? Open it up and you use your ironing ball to place it under like so. Then you open up your seam like so, okay? Just try to open it up and you iron it down. So this is it, like so, okay? So you just carefully open it and you iron it. Carefully open it, then you iron it down like so, okay? This is what you do. Just iron it down so that it can relax side. So I'm just going over it again to make sure it is well relaxed, okay? So after ironing this side, you set your ball again to this side, making sure you're holding it down the way it is, okay? Then you set your ball. Then it's time to iron this other side. So make sure you open it well. So the essence of doing this is for the cup to relax well and for it to be well formed, okay? Then also ironing out any uneven seam. So that is the essence of doing this. So to just relax. So you can see what I have. Very neat and okay. You can see the seam is just clean. So that is the essence of doing this. So you also go down. You also iron it. this point you also iron. Don't forget this side. So this is it. Okay, so you can see now, you can see the difference between the ironed side and the side that is not yet ironed. So you can see. Okay, so that is it. So you go ahead and do for the both sides. So I will also do for this side, then also iron the center. Okay, so you can see the way it is just standing. Okay, you can see it, and this under bust is just, by the time you join it together to the back, it just sits. Okay, and the bust will just stay like that. You can see it. So just go ahead and pad your dress using this method I've taught you, and you get a very nice outcome. Okay, so now to the lining. So this is my lining. Okay, I didn't want this video to be too long, so I had to just do this off camera. So I also pad the lining, but this time around using hair stay, that is this paper stay. Okay, so that's what I use for the lining. I pad it up too, and just the same thing I did for the main fabric, that is what I will also do here. Okay, so I will notch it, iron it, then join it to the main fabric. It's looking as if it's the main blouse. Okay, so you can see the other side. Now we'll go ahead and join it to this, just the normal way we join our lining, and by the time you are done, it will be inside like this. Okay, so by the time you're done, it will give the blouse a very firm look. Okay, so you can see this, even without bra you can put on this blouse. Without bra you can wear this blouse because it will be very firm at the bust. Okay, so that is it. Now I'll go ahead and join just the normal way you join your blouse. You join your main fabric to the lining. So that is it. So just sew at the neckline. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Please give it a like to encourage me to do more videos for you, and also subscribe if you are yet to subscribe. See you in my next video. Remain blessed. Bye.